The Bulls have 3 seconds to try a shot and try to win the game.
This is the Notebook Wagering Show on the Wild Style Network. Here are your hosts, Q, Smitty, Matt, and J Cam.
Hey, Wednesday night Notebook Wagering time. Live from the Salisbury Center, fueled by Monster Energy. I am Smitty. I got the boys up in Pittsburgh with me. Let's check in on them and see how they were doing. J Cam, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy off of my getting my Jets money line that came out of nowhere after I wrote it off, and then turned into actually a pretty good game after it was a pretty boring game for about 3 quarters. And decent weekend, kind of like close to 500 was plus money on college, and probably one game up on NFL. So survived for the first week, kind of getting a little bit refined down here, and looking forward to another week doing it again.
Yeah, we got to get after. I got to heat up in college, man. It's a lot of team points I'm doing this week. It's like
crazy.
It's like the great rapper Too Short said, you got to get in where you fit in. And right now, I think it might be team points. So that's where I'm going. Matty Nails, always working for the weekend. How are you doing tonight, my good friend?
Well, my boat's taking on water, buddy. College. I did have a positive weekend by 1 game, so I'm still 3 down in the loss column, basically. NFL was rough too, man. Tons of player props, hit some good ones. But I will say, I was on the Jets Monday night, so that helped. What didn't help was the over that I was also on. But I did hit a James Cook prop reception too. So NFL, we're going to, like Jason said, it needs tweaking. We need some stats. We need some more data to work with. Hopefully week 2, even some stuff out. But let's roll. Let's roll into the night, buddy.
You know what's great? Sunday morning, Matt wrote, and he's like, I'm like 15 bets deep. Football's back, man. When our guys 15 bets deep. I love it, man. That fired me up. I was like, how many? I counted mine. I was like, 8. Okay, I got to pick it up. Let's go. Let's get some bets in. So we're gonna dive in the NFL here in a little bit. We're gonna recap one game from week 2 college football. There was a big game last Saturday night. You had Texas traveling into Alabama, and boys, I'm gonna ask this question: is Texas back? I think they are. J Cam, let's start with you, man. Are they back?
Let everybody know that we are required as a podcast to actually ask that at least once a year. So we've got that out of the way now. But they look back. They do. That was an impressive win. Yeah, Alabama was fighting back. That was a really good game, and it kind of lived up to the hype. And Texas is pretty talented, and they have a pretty good quarterback. And they were kind of exposing some things with Alabama that, we thought might be there, but they kind of proved it out. So it was a pretty impressive win. Yeah, anytime you go into Bryant-Denny and win on a Saturday night, and is there any field that looks better on a night game than Alabama? That's better than NFL stadiums. That place is amazingly lit. But, Texas looks really good. I mean, I think the schedule works well for them. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
That was a big fourth quarter. That game was tight. I think Texas put 21 points on the fourth quarter there in that game and just kind of ran away with that. So, Matty, you were kind of high, and it's not me because, I was high on Alabama too. It's not a rip on you. You kind of thought they were going to come back and be kind of bully ball a little bit and like bully some teams around a little bit. And I don't know. What's your overall thought now on this Alabama team?
This is going to be like a triple tier answer kind of. So I do think Texas is back. And their talent level really showed. And we said that on our Big 12 breakdown. We said, man, they're hands down the best talented team in the Big 12. And it really did show. And now it's going to play when they go to the SEC next year. I think my bigger question, though, is Texas really back, which, yes, they are, or is Alabama really down right now for Alabama? Like, is this going to be a 10-2 team that we did not see? And you know what? Their O-line didn't play great. Milroe didn't play great. He didn't play awful. But I don't know. I think they're missing a star that they don't have. Maybe they lost a little too much, and maybe the 5-star recruits just aren't ready to chip in as much as we thought. And then I'm going to throw this out to you guys. You remember when we did the SEC show? Who was the team I said in the West that could surprise people? And I think the door actually just opened up a little bit for Arkansas to sneak into maybe some talk here.
Interesting. Yeah, no, definitely.
Milroe, right, is his name? Yeah, he threw for like 200. And you know what I said to Dr. Brent on Sunday? He throws a nice deep ball. He's like the Jeff Blake. Remember Jeff Blake for Cincy in the NFL? He threw a great.
I don't know if he throws it that high.
Well, he does. You know what we were saying? It was like Tecmo Bowl with like Steve Grogan and that when the ball would go like flutter roll bat or Bobby Hebert and you throw it up for Andre Rison. But man, he's Jeff Blake. He's my Jeff Blake now in that. But hey, Texas, great quarterback. I mean, he had big numbers, 24 out of 38, 349, 3 touchdowns. You know, they ran the ball well. They had over 100 yards. The key too, they had 3 wide receivers. Sanders had 5 catches, 114 yards. Mitchell 3 for 78, 2 touchdowns, and then Xavier Worthy, their top guy, I think had 70 something yards and a touchdown on that. So they do, man. They have a lot of weapons on that team. So, and then Maddie, I think it was you last night. Didn't you send us that there's some rumors that Nick Saban, this could be it for?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a true rumor or not, but it's floating around the interwebs that he's supposedly going to step down at the end of the year. But I think if that's true, there would have been so much steam on the internet and Twitter and everywhere about this. But who knows? Maybe there is a little smoke down there. But then we were trying to, of course, we all like to look forward and then who would the future coach be, of course. But we won't even get there until we hear news. So
yeah, there was a couple names thrown out there on our text last night. So, all right, hey, let's get into week 3. Let's try to win some money. I need to win money. You want to win money. So let's try to throw out some winners here. We're going to try to give you rapid fire as many games as we can. And then we're going to go in the NFL here. So, all right, guys, but let's look at this game. Let's see if anybody has a play. Probably this week stinks. I mean, this week's horrible. Next week, I mean, I've said this before, and I'm telling, if anyone's listening, guys especially, make sure the wife can't hear, because next week it's time to say you're not feeling well. You pulled a hamstring. Pray for rain. You're not getting off the couch because that next week's schedule is unbelievable. There is games galore. So we'll get into that. But this week, here's one of the big ones here. You got Tennessee going into Florida. Now, I can already hear, Q's not here, but I can already hear, man, he's probably, if he's checking in on us, he's probably screaming and saying, go Florida here. Here's a crazy stat. Did you guys catch this? How many years ago did Tennessee win in Florida?
The last time Tennessee won in Florida?
You know how many years ago that was?
I'm going to go T. Martin.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Well, how many? I don't know. How long was T. Martin? Give me years.
25.
25.
Okay,
yeah.
20. Good job. Nice call on that. I mean, I remember T. Martin, but I was like, I can't figure out when that was 19. I can't remember that. But that was 20 years. 20 years since they've won in Gainesville. So they are favored in this. It opened at 7.5. It is down to 6.5 here. So let's just do kind of rapid fire here. Predictions of the game. Maddie, I'll start with you. Can Tennessee go in here? They won last year big. That was in Knoxville. Can they go into Gainesville here and get a big win on Saturday night? I think it's a 7:00 game.
I think they can. I think they will. I don't think they'll cover the 6.5, though. I think this will be a tight game. There was some kind of headline today. Joe Milton can throw a football 100 yards. I'm like, come on. Who cares if he can? He can't even hit Calhoun standing on the curb when he's at the stadium down in Knoxville. You got to get a little better there, Joe. I know Smitty loves Joe Milton from prior, but yeah, I think the Vols can get in there, get it done, and get out of town with a close win. But it's going to be tight. I mean, Florida should be amped up for this. I mean, this might be playing for a second seed, see who can possibly dethrone Georgia in the East. But I don't think either can, but who knows?
All right, Jason, can they break the curse here? 20 years.
Oh, I think they can. This is going to be a defensive game. I was surprised looking at the numbers. Those defenses were really good, and the offenses are kind of questionable here. Tennessee is actually running the ball more than they throw it, which I don't think was the intention, especially with their style of offense that they play. But it's like 52-48 right now, and for some reason, Florida's throwing it more than they run it, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, with given that team's like running backs, offensive line, and in fact, Graham Mertz is the guy at quarterback. But Yeah, I don't think the Florida offense has enough firepower to kind of get through this. I don't love betting on Joe Milton on the road, so I kind of lean to the under here rather than laying that 7. It was at 7.5, and I probably should have grabbed some at that point because I think that's actually a pretty good number because I think this is points are going to be at a premium, but I just cannot lay 6.5 on the road with Joe Milton.
Yeah,
hey, Smitty.
Yeah, go ahead.
In honor of Q not being here, we should probably start a Graham Mertz fan club every week.
Well, he's a Florida quarterback. He has to like him, right?
I don't know if he
doesn't
likes
have
it.
to.
I mean, this is a big game because Billy's on. I think the seat's getting warm with some people, and I think it's tough because I think you got to give it a couple years. But everyone expects Florida just to be good every year. I'm not high on the quarterback. I thought he played okay against Utah. I mean, I'm not going back into that game last week. I don't even know who they played. They played somebody that was really bad. But here's the thing with Florida. They can't have false starts. How many false starts do we say? I mean, they had so many false starts. Then you had a punt, and they had 2 guys with the same number. So you got to limit the mistakes here. You can't have all these mistakes. I think you got to run the ball. The place is going to be electric. This is a good spot. I think it's tough. I mean, Joe Milton, I kind of like him. He's okay. But again, I kind of laugh when it's like when those guys in the draft, they show them and they're like in those 1984 shorts. And it's like they're really short and they're running in a T-shirt and they're doing it. And it's like, all right, I'm not that impressed because they don't play in those 1984 Nike shorts and a tank top that's cut off or something. So the accuracy has to be there. But I think this is a good spot for Florida. I think this one could be close. I do. I think it's a good teaser spot. And I know people can't stand teasers in college. Guess what? I could care less. Tease this one. Let's go Florida in this one in a teaser.
Yeah, the teasers work if you have a game that you know is probably going to be a little tight or low scoring. Because that's the whole element with college football, right? Where they don't trust teasers because, you can have these crazy scores and, overtime can go forever, all these fun things. But yeah. No,
hey, we had a nice one on College Insiders last week. Got a big winner. Gave that out. That was a good winner. That was 3-team. So I got one this week. I'll bring it up here in a second. And here's the game. I'm going to go right to the game right now. Let's go to this game. Kansas State, Missouri. Another pretty good game. Kansas State's playing really, really well. I mean, they're thumping people. That quarterback's good. Howard's good. He can throw the ball. He can run the ball. But here's one. This game could have been on Missouri's schedule for a year. They lost last year. This could have been circled here. I think this is a good spot. Now, it opened at -1.5 Kansas State. On Scores and Odds, it's up to -4.5. So people are jumping on Kansas State. But I like this Missouri team. A lot of guys are back. They haven't been doing, I think they won by 25 against South Dakota. But last week they played Middle Tennessee State. That game was close. It was only 23-19. That's a close game. They didn't do much last week. But I think this is a good spot. I have a teaser play this week. I have Missouri up. I like taking the points up with Missouri and getting them in a 6-point teaser up to 10.5. I think this one's close. I think they could even maybe pull an upset. Matty, do you believe in Missouri? He's shaking his head no. There goes my teaser.
No, it's nothing against your play. I won't touch this game. I think it's a odd spot. K-State had a huge game last week. I don't know if they can duplicate that again. I think this one's tight. I think your teaser play is probably the smart way to go, but I'm going to lay off bet in this one.
All right, Jason, what do you got in this one?
I like the teaser of it. Both teams have good defenses. Missouri can cause problems up front, and Kansas State usually handles it pretty well, but not always. And Kansas State's defensive numbers, though, so far this year have been awesome. I think that's why the number's going where it's going. And you don't really know who the playmakers are from Missouri yet. But they're pretty talented at a wide receiver. They have potential. You're getting them at home. I think Drinkwitz really needs this win. Like you said, it's a bit of a rivalry. It's not the direct rivalry. Obviously, Kansas is the school you always think of with Missouri. But it's a game that they kind of need. And, the SEC needs this a little bit, too. They're getting beat up a little bit out of conference here with some of these, top 25 teams. So, if you can tease that up to, 11.5 or 10.5 even, I think that's a good play. And I think Missouri has a chance in this. At least a puncher's chance, but I do think Kansas State will win.
I got it last night. I just looked on my little index card here where I got it at plus 11 on last night. So I don't know if we're going to cover this game, so I'll hit where I'm going to go with this teaser. My favorite teaser of the weekend, I did Missouri plus 11, and I did Arkansas down to -2 against BYU at home. I think that's a good spot. I know Matt likes the Arkansas team. I do too. I like the quarterback. I like some of their players. I just think that's going to be a tough spot for BYU to come in there and keep that game close. I was shocked where the line was. I mean, -8, I would have thought that was higher. So I haven't, and I'll be honest, I haven't watched any BYU football. So, I mean, if you guys have seen something or you disagree, please say something. So
they haven't played anybody. I think that's the biggest thing here is that they're going down to Little Rock and or Fayetteville, and they have not really kind of tested themselves. Usually BYU starts off with somebody good the first 2 weeks, and they've kind of slumped through, I think, Southern Utah, and I forget who the other team was. But, when we did the Big 12 preview, there was nothing about BYU that stood out. And Arkansas is a good, solid football team. And I don't know if will they have the running back Sanders for this game? I don't even think it matters.
That's what I was actually just looking up because he didn't play last game. So they didn't look very impressive. But, yeah, I'm trying to find news on that because that is a key. You would have to think that the number only being – it's actually down to 7.5. That might be why it's actually creeping lower and lower. People might be jumping on BYU.
I don't see it going below 7, though. I think Arkansas is a good bet there.
I agree.
Too much time.
I have that number written down. So
yeah, I mean, if BYU had a better offense, I'd be scared because Arkansas defense could be a little leaky at times, but I don't think that's the case.
All right, let's go. We got so many people that are Penn State fans that listen to the show, so let's go with Penn State here. This one from our Big Ten preview show, this was Matty. I think Matty made this comment, and he said, and I agreed with him, and I know Dr. Brent wrote, I think the next day, and was like, yeah, a couple years ago, Penn State was going to go on the road, and they were going to lose, and they beat Maryland by about 58 points. Now, they opened up, they're 2-0. They beat West Virginia, and they beat Delaware. Blue Hens or whatever they're called last week. So, again, Penn State's very explosive, and we said that on the preview show. They got the quarterback that they wanted. They got the running backs. Defense is good. They do have to go on the road here. I think it is trying to look at my notes, -14.5. I'll tell you, man, Illinois, I haven't been that impressed. I think Penn State's going to go in there and do a job on them. And I know people are going to be just shocked that I'm saying Penn State's going to really blow someone out, but I think Penn State's in good shape here. Jason, you're a Penn State fan, so, I mean, you'll be very honest here with this. Penn State going to go in okay?
No, I'm nervous about this game. Illinois came in a couple years ago, beat us by playing bully ball. And, they've got two really good defensive tackles. Now, they looked terrible in Lawrence last Friday night. Kansas kind of gave them a whooping, which makes me a little concerned because got beat on the road pretty bad coming home. It's a physical team. Obviously, they lost a lot in the draft, and it's not a program that can really reload like some of the others. But it's just Drew Aller's first start on the road. This makes me a little nervous. It's a good scheme. Like I said, they have a good defensive line. And the one thing you mentioned, Penn State being explosive, that's actually the one thing they're not this year. It's a little concerning is that they've been grinding out these drives against teams that aren't as good as them. They really haven't had that big play like they've kind of lived on, which I kind of want. As a fan, I'm kind of torn because I wanted a little more standard down success, but now we've had no explosive plays this year.
But they've been scoring okay points, haven't they?
They have, but it's been grind. Like they've just been pounding the ball down the field. There's been no KJ Hamler or Jahan Dotson over the top. Like that element hasn't been there yet. So, but I like first half Illinois here with Aller's first start on the road, just because it's a Big Ten road game. It's kind of a whole new environment, and Illinois, like I said, they got whooped last week. They're going to be up for this, and I just don't think they have enough to stay with them, though. I think over the game, Penn State will pull away.
All right, Matty.
Smitty, I'm more with you. I actually think they're going to go in there and trounce these guys. Illinois looked really bad. I was high on Illinois in our Big Ten show, and they just haven't shown anything. And if they do try to play bully ball, I think Penn State can play just as good bully ball this year with their big linemen up front, the great rotation on the D-line. I mean, I think they'll find a playmaker somewhere. And you know what? Eventually, people are going to start breaking down and try to load the box, maybe against Singleton and the other back. So who knows? I think it's coming. I think, Smitty, you might be on to something. I think they go in and win big, buddy.
All right. There we go. I don't think that's ever been mentioned out of my mouth. And, Matty, I don't know if you've gone Penn State over the years either, so people might be shocked you're watching live tonight.
I'll throw it for Q. Illinois plus 15. Penn State always costs me money. That's terrible.
Yeah, that's what he would say. That's great. All right, let's just keep going, man. I don't have much on this game, but this is another big one. This is an SEC matchup, so let's just throw this out here. LSU heading into Mississippi State, open 7.5. I have it at 9.5 right now. I don't have much. I haven't really researched this game yet. I'm not going to play this one. I was high on LSU going into the season. They didn't look great against Florida State, especially in the second half. Now they played somebody, I don't know, it was a Grambling State or somebody last week. It was somebody really bad. So it's always tough to kind of think here. I mean, good line movement here. I don't know. I don't know if LSU blows them out. Since the passing of Mike Leach, I'll be honest, I just haven't really dove into Mississippi State football with him not coaching this year. So I'm going to pass on this. A pass for me. Maddie, we'll start with you. Any action on this game?
Yeah, I actually like LSU. I think 9.5 is a really good number to get before it creeps up over 10. I mean, it's basically the same two teams as last year, if you put it down on paper. And LSU won by 15 last year. Now there is no Leach, as Smitty said. So I mean, it's better coach, better talent. Yeah, I'll lay the 9.5 with LSU. I think it's time for them to get rolling and cruise through the middle of their schedule before they get to the big boys down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm with Maddie. LSU pass game has actually improved over last year a good bit, and this Mississippi State defense is pretty bad against the pass. Gave up 367 yards against Arizona last week at home, and they run the ball now. They're 60-40 run, and I think that's just a horrible recipe for playing LSU. They used to give them a little problems with the air raid and kind of catching up with the undisciplined LSU defense, but LSU's a little susceptible to the pass right now. I mean, they've got some decently bad numbers after the first two games, but this is like Mississippi State has anything to attack that, which is really weird to say. Like they threw 17 passes last week. That's usually a quarter for them. So yeah, I'll lay the 9.5 for the Bayou Bengals.
All right, let's do one more quick one because, again, we have I know my buddy Dave, if he's watching, and he does watch us, he's a big diehard Pitt fan. So we got to talk about the backyard brawl. We got West Virginia. I think Pitt is traveling into West Virginia this year. I don't even know what the line is, and I know I'm going to catch it tomorrow at work that I don't know what the line is on this. But, man, Pitt let me down last week. I had them in my teaser. I had a money line parlay, and then they just came out and just did nothing against Cincinnati early in that game. And they kind of put it on late, but the great Pine Richland quarterback just got booed. I was shocking, but man, for his performance, wasn't good here. So, Jason, do you have the line real quick? Pitt, West Virginia.
It depends where you go right now. So you can get either team -1, you can get either team +1. So that's kind of where the action's been. So it's pretty split. And I think the money is pretty split. It gives a little more money on West Virginia, depending on what site you use to monitor that. But yeah, it's in Morgantown. Obviously, 50 minutes away from Pitt campus, so it's really close if people aren't familiar. Yeah, Pitt was terrible last week. I like I said, maybe they were confused by the realignment. They thought Cincinnati joined the MAC and thought this was the game where they lose to the MAC during the early season, like they do every year. So they lived up to that. They only had 262 yards of offense. Jurkovic, 10 of 32 for 179. He did have 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. But that will get you booed to the highest field at a game against a pretty good opponent, Cincinnati, who was not that good this year. So I like West Virginia. I think they showed that they were a little decent against Penn State. I thought the running game was really good. Pitt gave up a ton of yards to Cincy on the ground last week, which is not their MO. West Virginia's been able to move the ball on the ground. And last year, this was a really close game. I give you, the Mountaineers in Morgantown. I'll take them basically to pick them.
All right, Matty, what do you got in this one?
I'm right with Jason. WVU -1. West Virginia in the last 10 against Pitt holds an advantage 6-4, and I really think Jason nailed it. Garrett Green, when they played Penn State, actually looked really, really good, in my opinion. He's got escapability. He actually throws a really good ball, has good arm strength. He reminds me of, I mean, this is a huge say, but it's kind of like Doug Flutie because he's short in stature, but he can get out and scramble. I think he's dangerous. I actually think West Virginia's going to take this, and I don't think it's going to be too much of a sweat. I don't know how much the backyard brawl holds validity-wise anymore with each other because neither have been relevant I know they don't like each other, and we're always going to play that up. Go ahead, Jay.
West Virginia doesn't like Pitt a lot more than Pitt doesn't like West Virginia.
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
The whiskey bottles will be flying out of stands. They'll be up for that game. I can't remember the last time Pitt was down there for a game. So, they'll be fired up. That'll be a nice crowd for that game.
I was going to say, that'd be a great just sitting in the parking lot and watch what's going on because, there's going to be some fights. There's going to be some people having a couple drinks, and they're going to have some good time here. So, man, I'm not playing it, but I'm going to say it on the show. Come on, I'm going to go opposite here. Give me Pitt. Pitt's going to win. Pitt's going to go down and get a big win. They're going to come back after a bad performance last week and beat West Virginia. Hey, I have to say it. My buddy loves them. My sister went to the school. Come on now. I got to say go Pitt. Go Pitt.
Did you say that? Hey, did you say that's for your buddy Dave?
My buddy Dave, and he loves the Panthers. That's his team. So go.
Well, ask Dave if he's going down to the game. He should be going to the game and showing this kind of support.
Well, he might not. He might not want to go to what I just said. What might happen? That might be that's one of those that you don't wear. You wear just like a jacket or like a sweatshirt or something.
Camo. Camo.
You wear camo. That's better.
Body armor.
Yeah, a couple Miller Lights and some camo. All right, here. Let's rapid fire really quick. Any plays, any leans you have? Jason, I'll start with you. Let's go really quick here. Throw out what you have so far on your card for the great audience.
I know it's against an academy, but I think this academy is awful. I think Navy's bad this year. Give me Memphis minus the 14. I've got them at a bad number right now, but I think the Tigers will be pretty good so far. I've got Rutgers minus 7. I hate the minus 7. I actually got it at minus 4 on Sunday, which I'm a lot better with, but that defense is really good. I don't think Vatek has anything this year. Like they showed that last week against Purdue when they cost Smitty money. And I like, speaking of Purdue, even the Boilermakers, plus 2.5, Big Ten Saturday night. Syracuse coming in. Syracuse hasn't really played anybody this year. I think Purdue's actually played Fresno and at Vatek. They're a little road tested. They've changed their whole MO, but I think they're a little further along in the program this year than Syracuse is. And like I said, I think it's actually going to be a surprisingly lively crowd at Ross-Ade Stadium Saturday night because we know they don't get these games too often. So I think that's kind of a hornet's nest that the Orange are going into.
Matty, what do you got?
All right, hold on to your pants here. The Battle of the Granite State, which is, for all you listeners, that's New Hampshire. So the New Hampshire Wildcats play Dartmouth. And for all of us who do fantasy football and whatnot, there's a kid for New Hampshire, Dylan Laub, who is an unbelievable running back. I don't know what the line of this game is. I can't even find one yet. But we're going to keep scouring. I'm gonna lay the points or take the points, whatever it is, with New Hampshire in this one. And I'll go rapid fire on a couple others. I like Washington minus 16 to beat up Sparty with all this nonsense going on with Mel Tucker. Then Washington can score, and I think they'll dump it on. That'll be a big win in the name game, not so much the talent game anymore, but it'll look good on a resume. I think the team we slept on is Oklahoma State. I like them laying 7 this week. And then Jason brought up the academies. I like Air Force versus Utah State. I believe it's Thursday or Friday. I actually like under 46.5 in that game. Utah State is bad. Air Force will just grind it out with their triple wing T Delaware.
I don't think they've been giving up any points. They've been shutting people out. Yeah.
That too. So, I mean, Utah State's awful, and if Air Force puts up 33, there you go, 33-0. Look the under 46.5.
All right.
Yeah, on that though, because Air Force plays in Houston State, so no, they don't score on anybody.
All right, I said at the beginning, I'm going to get in where I fit in. Too short. We're going too short style here this week. First play, TCU. I'm doing team points over 34.5. So far, they've played Colorado 42 points. Nickel State last week 41. Houston Cougars only gave up 14 against UTSA, but they gave up 43 last week against Rice. I think this one's going to be a shootout. So give me the team points over TCU 34.5. I'm taking Maryland over 31.5. They play Virginia. Maryland so far have scored 38 against Townsend, 38 against Charlotte. UVA has given up 49 to Tennessee, and last week lost a really tight one, 36-35, so they gave up 36 points to James Madison. I think this one's going to be a shootout too. So I think points. I like Kansas. I liked what they did last week. They put up 34. So far they've done 48-34. Nevada, they played Nevada this week. They gave up 66 to USC and 33 to Idaho and lost the game to Idaho. Ugh. All right, give me Kansas.
Those Vandals.
Just don't get too cocky about the win last week. So I like that. I already gave you out my teaser. I did play Troy money line against James Madison -150. I also did the under 49 Florida State BC game. Keep an eye on this. It's down to 47.5. Hurricane Lee is coming up, going to be really close in that area. I looked at the weather today. 55-mile-per-hour winds, heavy rains. So I jumped on it last night at 49. It's down to 47.5. And I have not put this in, but my dog play, I'm 1 for 1 this year. I like Purdue too. Jason said it. I think Purdue is going to beat Syracuse at home. I really like that team. So let's go Purdue. I'm probably going to throw that one in tonight. Get on it. Let's win some money in college football. Let's go. And I love the New Hampshire play because if I don't have a good week, I'm going to start talking about Slippery Rock and IUP and I don't know, Holy Cross or somebody. So let's go. Let's get some winners here. All right, NFL time. Big news. Man, what Jets. You just feel bad for the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, all that hype, all that money. Now, I'll tell you, it's going to hurt the Packers, though. Packers, if he played 70% of the plays, Packers were going to get a first rounder. Now they're going to get a second rounder. Still not bad, but. So I'm going to throw this out. Before we go into a couple recaps really fast and some games, I'm going to put you guys on the GM spot here. So Aaron Rodgers is out for the entire year. Zach Wilson's going to be in. Zach Wilson doesn't look that good. So if you two were the GMs, I'm going to throw a couple names out. And now, if you guys like somebody else, please throw in. Jason, if you had to pick up a phone, would you call? I'm going to go 2 guys that aren't on anybody's team. Well, 3 that's not on anybody's team right now. Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, or do you just call Joe Namath and ask him if he can still do it? I don't know. Who are you calling?
Calling Richard Todd or Kenny O'Brien.
Richard Todd, great one. Good throwback there.
Joe Namath's like 5'6" now. He's all shrunk up.
Yeah, he looks game day. Yeah, he looks rough, but he's old. He's like 8. Yeah, he's 80. So
he's got the Riz, but he's like he's shrunken down now.
Okay, so Joe Namath's out. Now I like Richard Todd. We'll see what he's doing. All right, so serious. Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz. Who are you calling?
I think no. I mean, I think I'm more interested in like maybe Kirk Cousins.
Stole my pick.
I stole him, yes, but no, I mean, I think that's actually a decent matchup because that's kind of what you need. And I was actually to Mad Dog Russo show a little bit, and they were saying, no, this is a Super Bowl team, and Kirk Cousins can get you to the playoffs. Like, whoa, this is the Jets. Like that's the next step is to get to the playoffs. You got the defense for it, right? You got some skill talent. Just get to the playoffs, and you got to figure out your quarterback situation. But you can have a ton of money available because I don't think Rodgers is coming back. I think this is a ball game. So, I think that's a nice move. I can't think of anybody else that you could really put in there that you wouldn't be taking on a huge financial obligation if you did it. But I'll tell you what, Zach Wilson looks better, but I just don't think he can get you to the playoffs. I think the best he can do is 9-8 maybe, but your defense would have to absolutely carry you. But that's what the defense could. So I'm intrigued. I wouldn't make a move for any of those old guys. I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think those guys have anything left in the tank. You've got a good running game. You've got some skilled receivers. I think you can get by. And, I'd be more interested in a guy like a Mason Rudolph or like another like kind of quasi backup, maybe Brissett, maybe James Winston. I've heard somebody, but I still would give a shot to Zach Wilson. You made a decision a couple of years ago to go with him as number 2 draft pick. It's time to see him do something, all right? You know exactly what you have after this year because you definitely see improvement, just not enough.
Okay, I like the Winston. I like the Winston thing. So I was going to throw that at Maddie and be like, okay, Maddie, now you, the GM, same 3 guys. Or would you try to make a trade here? So Jason kind of went in. I like Winston. He did bring up Mason Rudolph. I heard that. I even said Mitch Trubisky because trade Trubisky's on his last year of his contract. Guy can move. He can run. He's not bad. He filled in. In the Steelers situation, you could just move Rudolph right up to the backup that's been in the system. So I don't think it's a big thing there. All right, Maddie, if you're GM of the Jets, what are you doing here?
I'm passing on everybody you named. I think they're all. I hate to say it. I think Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky are trash. I think Carson Wentz is way past anything he's going to get accomplished. I love the Kirk Cousins trade talk. And since Jason stole that, there is one more name I think that's out there. I think it's Kyler Murray. If he gets a clean bill of health, now it is a huge contract. However, that O-line is awful. And if you put Kirk Cousins behind it, he's just going to get smashed in the teeth. And he's less mobile than Rodgers. You've got to have somebody that has some wheels. And I don't think Jameis has enough wheels to get it done. I mean, if you want to win now, and your window is now, and yeah, everybody's saying, okay, so it's just a playoff Super Bowl window. I think Kyler Murray can get you there. Now, him in New York is probably a whole new set of problems and issues in itself. But I doubt it happens. I think that's the correct move. And another guy I would then look at, too, if you want like a journeyman kind of guy, I would go look at Jacoby Brissett, who actually is a good ball player. He's a good backup. They need depth. They need it. They actually have to sign somebody. It doesn't matter what they're going to do, period, going forward. They have to sign somebody, no matter if it's a backup, a starter, because they just don't have any depth right now. They're in trouble.
I got two more. Smitty, I'll throw them to you.
Okay.
What about Case Keenum? He's the third string now in Houston. Case Keenum has gone to the playoffs with the Minnesota Vikings. And how about this? What about Baker Mayfield, who's like the stopgap guy in Tampa right now, who had a pretty good week one? I mean, if the Bucs really consider him a long-term option, he would actually probably, like Matty said, guy can actually get around, protect himself a little bit behind a suspect offensive line, and kind of fits that team's little, I don't know, mojo.
Well, I agree with what you guys said. That team is loaded. The defense is so good. The running back's a star in the making. I mean, some of those holes, I mean, they didn't look like there was anything there, and the guy's breaking, and then he's running 80 yards. The wide receivers are good, but that offensive line's bad. And you do need somebody that can really get around and roll out and throw the ball on the run and everything like that. So Case Keenum, I'd say no, just up there in age. I mean, Baker, yeah, but I mean, because I don't think Baker should have been the starter to begin with. I think Trask should have been the guy in Tampa. So, I mean, could you do that? But again, they're 1-0. If they win this week, they go 2-0. Then they're going to say, hey, we're in this thing, and they're in the division that's not that great. I think they could hold on to that. So, I mean, what it sounds like Wilson's their guy. I mean, I agree. I think Matty said it. They got to add somebody here. They got to get some depth on the team there at that position. So that's coming. All right, let's just recap. I thought that'd be fun to kind of break down a little GM talk there. So, all right, let's just get it out. Steelers, major disappointment. I was so upset. That game was shut off, and I was done by halftime. I mean, that was just a disgrace. San Francisco just absolutely punched him in the face. Steelers couldn't do anything about it. They really couldn't. That team looked fantastic. The 49ers looked legit. I have made comments about, man, Purdy, is he really going to be the guy? Man, with that team and all the weapons, and they can give him time to throw, yeah, the guy – he's pretty good. It's just shocking how did Iowa State not do anything with him at quarterback and Hall at running back? And they had a real good tight end, I think, too, or a wide receiver.
I mean, 2 or 3 of them, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
No, there's Brocktober always was there. They usually would lose a game in September. They shouldn't have lost, usually to Iowa or somebody like that. Then they would go 5-0 through October. They'd beat like Texas or Oklahoma, but not both. And then they would have a really rough November and then end up out of the race. But, yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty funny comparing him to Pickett in that game because it did not look good for Kenny from not just from like a playing ability, but from like a physical trait ability. Because Purdy looked like he had a heck of a lot stronger arm, and a lot of other things there. Just a lot more pocket presence and everything. I don't know what happened to Kenny Pickett in the last 2 weeks, but it wasn't good.
No, and we'll kind of talk about the Steelers moving forward here for this week because I think they bounce back, but man, they're really banged up. I think they're banged up. I like them in a teaser spot again, but man, they're really nicked up right now. I think it's just time for a change. I've been saying it for years. I just think it's time for a change in Pittsburgh with the coach and staff also. But who did? I mean, what happened? So who did? Okay, let's throw this out really fast. Who looked the worst? Because you had, I'd say, the Steelers, Seattle. Couldn't believe they lost to the Rams. I was shocked on that one. In Seattle, no Cooper Kupp. And then the Giants just said, wait a second, wait until we play Sunday night. I mean, I put on my phone, and that thing was like 19-0. I'm like, well, I'm going to bed. I'm not watching that. And you wake up, and it's 40-0 final score. Who played the worst? What do you got, Jason?
I'm going to go with the Giants barely. But I don't know, because, I mean, they kind of got a little unlucky there. They got the block field goal. They got, they had some plays go against them and got in the hole. And then Dallas just pinned their ears back and just crushed that offensive line, which is a little more suspect maybe we thought. But, honestly, no, I'm going to change my answer to the Steelers because they kind of keyed to this game. Like, they played the preseason, their starters a whole lot more than everybody else did. They were trying to, kind of ramp up to be ready to go this game one. And they just came out stunk. There was nothing good to take away from that game as a positive. There was maybe the left tackle played okay, and maybe the TJ Watt played at his level, and then the backup tight end had a good game blocking Bosa. Besides that, it was basically take the film, throw it in the trash because there was nothing worth getting out of that game. It was just brutal. And like you said, they lost a ton of players this game. They lost Johnson, they lost Hayward. I think the right tackle is dinged up. There's a couple other players too that are kind of trying to pull it together here for the Browns this week. It's what the hell just happened? In 10 days.
It was bad.
It all went boom.
It went boom quick. It was boom. At least I got on the new YouTube and I watched the game, but I was well, I'm done watching this. Let's go watch something else. All right, Maddie, let's throw, I want to throw a game. Let's talk San Francisco. Cause again, I think they're just a really good team and I have some numbers here. They head into Los Angeles to play the Rams this week. Last time I had it in the notebook, it was -8. Shanahan has just dominated the Rams coach big time. I think he's 10-3 ATS against him. Is this just is the machine? I'm going to call him a machine because what I saw on Sunday, they're a machine. Do they just roll in there and really put it on the Rams? What do you got, Maddie, in that one?
Man, that's tough. This is the interdivision rivalry, home dog. How much fight is in the home dog? I actually think it might be a little more than we anticipated out of the gate with the Rams. Donald played really, really well. They ran the ball really, really well, even though I don't think I can name one of their starting O-linemen off the top of my head. Puka Nacua, Tyler Higbee, Tutu Atwell. I mean, if those are your skill guys and you actually dropped a 30 bomb on Seattle, I think maybe they can actually hang inside the number. I don't think they'll beat San Francisco, but I think if that number creeps up maybe another half a point or a point, I think it's the Rams as the play, even though the Niners are just a out-of-the-gate machine here.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, if you're taking this one, you have to go Rams just because they're a home dog in division. But, boy, you don't feel good doing it. I mean, I don't think the Niners can play any better than they did last week. That was a complete effort on all sides. And you just hope that with the travel back to the West Coast and everything, playing LA, obviously back in on the West Coast, a little shorter trip. But, yeah, I'll take the points, but I don't feel good about it.
All right, let's talk the local team here. You got the Commanders. They had a big win against Arizona, and I did have that game, and I watched a lot. I was not very impressed. That game was close. Arizona was winning. I was a little nervous. That was, I was hoping for my teaser play. I did have the Commanders, and they did hit my teaser for me, and the Steelers surely didn't. But I don't know. This Denver, I was shocked Denver, how bad they played. I did not think the Raiders were going to go into Denver and beat them. This is where the Commanders go this week. I like Denver in this. I know they lost last week at home. I wasn't very impressed by the Commanders. I thought, the quarterback, had some throws, okay, but he had a couple turnovers that were big. When Arizona is moving the ball and scoring a little bit against you, that's concerning. I think it's a tough spot for them to come out into Denver. I think Denver, again, off a bad performance. I think this might be one of my plays. I think I'm going to take Denver this week. What do you got, Maddie, on this? Because that's your team.
I'm opposite. I actually like this. Commanders getting 3.5. I don't think Sean Payton's figured out what he has. They lost Greg Dulcich, a weapon. Jerry Jeudy's still dinged up. Cortland Sutton and the wide receiver crew really didn't impress. Russ looked okay. He had 2 touchdowns, but they didn't do anything. They never really rattled Garoppolo. I think Bieniemy and company are still figuring it out themselves. Howell looked erratic, but then he got the winning scramble and score. But they ran the ball well. Brian Robinson actually looked pretty good. I was shocked how much they didn't use Antonio Gibson, but they actually sprinkled in Curtis Samuel. I think they have enough to cover it. I think the bookies are right on here with the 3.5. But if you give me that hook, I think I'll take the hook.
Yeah, this is tough because you're taking a rookie quarterback on the road. His first really road start. Denver did not look good last week, but man, the line's kind of drifting up to 4. I don't know who's kind of moving that. I'm thinking the Sharps are moving that at this point, so I'm probably laying the 3.5. But boy, I hate laying the hook in a game like this where neither team really kind of pulls away from the other. I think both have to improve on the week 1 efforts. They probably will. So I'll still take Denver at home, which is still a tough place to play.
I'll tell you the unders, 11-4 last week. 11-4 on the unders.
A lot of weather though. Smitty last week played havoc on some teams and games.
Okay.
And plus, first preseason game, really.
Yeah, dogs.
Well, yeah.
Dogs were 9-6 ATS.
I was actually gonna chime in when you brought up the teams like to worry about, like who looked the worst. And I actually had 3 written down. I had Seattle would have been my number 1. And it's also probably going forward because they lost their starting left tackle and starting right tackle. That's bad news for a team. And then I had the Steelers and the Giants. But I think when we left off is the Bengals.
Yep.
Who Jason just said it. That was their preseason game, and they looked horrendous. They looked really bad. They just cut an offensive lineman. The O-line still looked awful, even though bringing in new guys. Burrow doesn't look right. And not only that, but give props to Cleveland because their new scheme under Jim Schwartz looks actually really good out of the gate. So maybe they figured out something in Cleveland.
Yeah, Burrow, 14 out of 31, 82 yards. And we said that. I had Cleveland. I had Cleveland up. I hit that one. I did a teaser on that. I took because it was a divisional game, and I've said this before. I like taking the dogs up in divisional games and taking the points up and taking the under. So that was a big winner. But yeah, Burrow, but we said last week, hasn't played. He was very rusty in week 1 last year against the Steelers, threw a lot of INTs. There was another game for you. So we were kind of calling that one. I think they bounce back here on that. I think it's John Ewing. He put some stuff out on Twitter. I like his stuff. He wrote something. I just want to throw this out. Since 2010, double-digit losers week 1 are 51, 33, and 3. ATS the next week, 61%. Who were those teams that were the double-digit losers last week? Seattle, Panthers, Bengals, Colts, Steelers, Texans, Bears, Giants. So just throwing those out, I thought that was a really interesting fact on that one. So, another number I threw out last week, and I played all 3 primetime games. And what I did was I took the dog, took them up, and I took the points up and took the under. I hit it on Thursday night because the Lions beat Kansas City. That game stayed under. That was a winner. Now, Sunday night game did not go well. The under was there, but the Giants just didn't show up. Then I came back Monday night and played the Jets, which when Rodgers went out, I was like, well, this one's over because I had him at +8. But the Jets won the game. So I had the Jets and I had the under in that. So 2-1. So who do we got this week? So let's go back to Thursday night. Big game tomorrow. You got the Vikings. They're 0-1. They head into Philly. Philly was, I'll tell you, man, I watched that. They should have lost. They did. I didn't think they looked very good. Got off to a really quick start. I thought New England really outplayed them then. But so where am I going to go tomorrow on this? I think the Vikings are going to be desperate. I think Philly wins the game. And a great teaser spot could just take Philly down to like -1. But I'm going to probably take the Vikings up. Give me 6 points, add it on to the +7. And then I'm going to just take it up. I'm going to keep doing these primetime games and just keep this and see what happens this year. If it gets in a very cold streak, then I'll stop. But I think I'm going to take the Vikings and I'm going to take the points up and do a little teaser tomorrow night. Any thoughts on this game, Jason?
I don't know. That's going to be a pretty raucous environment there with Philly getting their, like the unveiling first game back, Super Bowl champs and all that fun stuff. I agree though. It was obviously that pick 6 was the difference in that game, and pick 6 will kill a dog faster than anything. And that really was the difference at the end. Eagles didn't look good, and you got to wonder about the coordinators because they lost both of them. A little bit of a transition there, but Vikings lost so much in the offseason. I just don't see them being that feisty. I think if you tease them up, you're going to be okay. But I'm going to lay the 6.5 with the Eagles here. Like I said, I just think they're going to get back to some of the things that they do, and a lot of the things that they do will give the Vikings issues.
Matty.
Yeah, I completely agree with Jason. I do think a teaser is a smart play, but I wouldn't touch it myself either. So we know Philly didn't look right, but again, it was preseason game number 1. 2 new coordinators. They actually lost their starting linebacker. Somebody else got hurt ribs. The running back, Gainwell. Gainwell got dinged. They didn't use Swift. I think they'll remedy that. You might see a little more Boston Scott, which could be a good player prop. But they have the weapons, and they're going to be at home. Jason said they are going to be amped up. And bad week 1, they'll turn it around. Heck, they just caught Cavalcante there. Everybody's raucous already. So let's go. I mean, I think it's smart to probably get that hook, get the 6.5 before it goes up. So, yeah, lay it with Philly, rolling Thursday night, fly, Eagles, fly.
Now, this line's actually going the other way, though. This is open to 7. It's coming down to 6 in some places. So, obviously,
I think it'll go back up.
I would agree. By Thursday night, I think it'll be 7.
Yeah.
All right, a team that lost last Thursday, Kansas City. Big game here, too. Going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, good offense. I'm not sure how great their defense is. And you saw, I think Kelsey's supposed to play. And you see how fast they got Jones back on the field. They didn't like watching him sit up in those nice seats. And personally, the Lions should have ran the ball more, in my opinion. I mean, the first play of the game, handed off to Montgomery. He gashed it for like 7-8 yards. And then they went 2 straight pass plays and did get the first down. I was like, just run the ball. And every time they did, they were getting yards. And I understand that's a passing league now, but Kansas City cannot stop the run. But with those guys back, and you do have Mahomes as your quarterback, is this a nice bounce back spot? Does Kansas City, last time I had it, I think it was -3. I have not updated. So again, if you guys want to jump in, Jason, if you're on anything.
It's up to 3.5 now. But I think that's bait. I think that's people trying to get Jags money. Mahomes is a short dog. I know Kansas City didn't look all that great on Thursday night, but another one that kind of walked through the preseason. Still saw some pieces. They do need to figure out the wide receiver situation. But
Tony had a rough one.
Well, he's back in Florida, so he should get his superpowers back, and maybe he'll actually catch something this week. But no, I still think Kansas City is a really good football team. I think the defense actually looked pretty good. I think they actually did stop the run a little bit without Jones, so it'll be interesting to get him back. And yeah, I think this 3.5 is just trying to draw Jags money. I think the Chiefs will end up covering this.
I'm just a little worried. It's no panic button, but we know Kelsey's going to play, but is he can't be 100%. I don't care what they say. And he's going to be rusty by no preseason action. And I don't know. I haven't looked at the weather down in Jacksonville, but I'm sure it's going to be kind of hot and humid still. A little rougher for KC to go down there. Jason's probably right that this is the play that they want Jags money. I think KC gets back on track. I think they win, but I don't think I'd lay the points. I think there's something fishy there. I think this is probably a backdoor cover by the Jags somehow.
86 and rainy on Sunday.
86?
Yeah.
That's a little toasty.
Very humid, too. Obviously, 50% chance of rain. So,
yeah.
It'll be muggy.
All right. One more really fast one, then we'll do a real rapid fire. I don't have any official plays yet. I just have some leans right now. I got to dive into this a little bit. But, you know, I was impressed. The Dolphins went out to Los Angeles and played the Chargers. I mean, that game was entertaining. A lot of points. I had the Chargers. That was the loser for me. Tua put up big-time numbers, 466 yards, 3 touchdowns. Hill, I think, had like 11 catches, over 200 yards, couple touchdowns. They head into New England. Now, New England, again, tough game last week. Is this a spot that the Patriots can pull an upset here?
Yes.
Hey, Jason.
I already bet it. I got the Pats +3. It's down to 2.5 now, but I just think the coming back across country for Miami, I think the New England defense actually looked pretty good. I think the offense actually looks better too. I don't know if it's good, but at least it looks organized and it has a method of attack. I think that was a pretty good game. I mean, Tua played his butt off. If you watch the replay of that game, Hill and Tua were just phenomenal. And like sometimes, those guys get yards and it's kind of cheap because they're so fast. You get an 80-yard touchdown on a blown coverage or something like that. But it wasn't. It was those guys were just making plays all over the field to win that game. So that was pretty impressive from the Dolphins, but wasn't really convinced with their defense. They got run on by the LA Chargers, which runs on nobody. So I think the Pats will be able to actually move the ball on the ground a little bit this week. So give me the Pats at home as a home dog.
Man, nuts of it. I'm with Jason almost every game here. I agree. I think it's the home dog again, the interdivision rivalry. Mac Jones actually looked like himself, let's say. I don't say he wouldn't have looked awesome, but he looked better. I think they figured out the coordinator problem of last year and how badly that really ruined their chemistry. They found some weapons, too. Hunter Henry looked back. Kendrick Bourne looked back. The rookie, Demario Davis, maybe? I'm not sure of his name. Looked pretty good. Their defense is still stout. Now, they have to figure out somebody's going to have to jam Hill off the line, and there's got to be just bracket coverage constantly. This might be a Jalen Waddle game where he gets the targets for a player prop type. But I think the Patriots will try to slow this down. I think this is going to be a Ramondre Stevenson run the ball, see how we do keeping that offense off the field. But I'm with Jason. I'm probably going to grab the Patriots with the points.
I kind of agree. I'm kind of leaning there myself. So I'll go really fast here. Let's rapid fire just a couple. I think there's some good bounce back spots here. I'm going to do a lot of teasers. That's what I do in the NFL. I think Cincy bounces back, and I'm going to take one more shot with the Steelers. I think they're not going to play as bad. I think they're going to come out motivated and get a win Monday night against Cleveland here. So, and I kind of like I said right now, Denver, a little bit of a lean in New England also, but I'll throw some teasers. Always check our social media on Notebook Wagering because we'll put our plays out. Any quick leans, guys, before we get out of here?
Yeah, I got the Titans +3 at home against the Chargers for the same reason. I don't see them being able to run the football this week. I think the Titans actually basically are back to themselves. Pretty boring, but they're always tough at home. I actually took the Browns money line. I did not like anything I saw from the Steelers, and I think the Browns are just in a lot better shape health-wise. I know they lost the right tackle, but I think that they can get by without that. They didn't have any healthy offensive line all of last year, and I'm trying to think of the other games. I think the Cowboys in the teaser spot would be nice, teasing them down, and maybe take those points and maybe take the Ravens up because I said, I don't think. I think the Bengals-Ravens game is going to be close, and I just don't know what to make of those two teams at this point. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now, but obviously there'll be more coming. Matty, what do you think?
Well, I was on your page, and now I'm not on your page. And the game I had written down, Tennessee and the Chargers. I'm on the Chargers. I think Tennessee kind of looks cooked, and I love Mike Vrabel, but Tajay Spears saw more carries than Derrick Henry. Are we actually seeing the demise of Derrick Henry finally? Because they were in the game. It's not like they were trailing by 30. And Tannehill looks awful.
They look bad.
He targeted, I think, Hopkins 14 times for 6 catches. He can't throw the ball. Traylon Burks was irrelevant. The tight end was irrelevant. And I think the Chargers are just going to score. I don't buy the early go across the country stuff that much. They need to bounce back. They cannot go 0-2 in that division with KC. That's doomsday. Tannehill had 3 INTs, 3 sacks, a 28 rating. That is awful. And in fact, for our segment, that was the Hot Mess Express based on Tannehill alone. Because Herbert played a really good game. I couldn't find 2 absolute trash heaps for the Hot Mess Express, so I just went with Tannehill, and that's it.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I will hold my nose and take the Titans.
I love the Hot Mess Express, so I'm so glad that's back. Hey, old man in the garage, 1-2 last week. He's going to do 2 plays this week. Yeah, got the Jets. He had the Jets. He had the Giants, too. He texted me early on Monday morning. He was like, that was a bad one. So he likes the Falcons to beat Green Bay. And I
like that one, too.
I kind of like that one, too, myself.
I do, too.
Take that teaser and put that on that game instead. Give it a Falcons.
All right. So he has the Falcons over the Packers, and then he has Baltimore to beat Cincinnati. So that is his 2 plays. He's 1-2 on the year. So hopefully we broke down a lot of games, threw out a lot of information. Take our plays, fade our plays, take your own. Let's just try to win some money. That's all we're trying to do. Boys, any last thoughts before we bounce and get out of here?
I have one real quick. We talked offline about draft picks, top 5 draft picks since, lo and behold, when was each team's last one? If the Steelers lose this week, I think the 1974 top 5 draft pick or whenever it was is going to start. I think it's going to start to come into play that talk's going to creep in.
You know what? I'd like to agree with you, but look where they were last year, and then look where they ended up. They were literally like in that spot.
Yeah, they were in that same spot, and they started winning.
And all of a sudden, there were like 2 tiebreakers for making a playoff. So who knows? They're never going to give up. That's the one thing that puts them out of that position. That they'll be more than happy to take the 15th overall selection instead of getting the top 5 player that will probably fix some stuff.
All right, everybody. Thanks again. If you're watching us live, give us a thumbs up. Tell your friends. Send out the show. We'll get this out. Until next time, Maddie, what do we always say?
Bang your bookies.
Thanks for listening to the Notebook Wagering Podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any episodes, and be sure to follow @Notebook Wagering. Until next time.